Who are the top five most important returning Auburn players going into 2023? Number one on my list, and this is my list. It may not be like most important to everybody, but this is how I see it. Dylan Brooks. Right now, Auburn doesn't have any edge rushers. The only returning guy is Dylan Brooks. Having to replace a guy like Derek Hall is absolutely a tall task for anybody. But in order for Auburn to be successful, you have to be able to get after the passer. When you've got offensive tackles at schools like Georgia, like a Broderick Jones or a Marius Mims, you go to whatever school, Bama, you go down to Florida, who's been recruiting at a really high level when it comes to portal offensive linemen. LSU, Brian Kelly is going to keep an offensive line. You got to have somebody, especially in Ron Roberts' defense, which is it's just kind of like either a 3-3-5 or a 4-2-5. The fourth guy along that defensive line is usually somebody who can get to the passer, set the edge, and get to the passer, depending on what side. On that weak side, you want somebody who can bend the corner. Dylan Brooks has all of the physical tools. He has to put it together. He's been in Auburn 2 years now. He's gotten a little stronger. He still looks a little bit lean. This offseason is going to be huge for him. If Dylan Brooks can figure out how to make that next leap in his development, it totally transforms Auburn's defensive line from where they are now into where they can be next fall. The weight room is going to have to be serious. The diet, the attitude. And even if he's not starting next year, you grab somebody else out of the portal, you still have to have solid and quality rotational pieces in order for Auburn to be successful and to get after the passer. You can't just have one guy. Being able to rotate that guy, being able to kind of mix up your pace as far as what the edge rush is, and an array of moves coming from two different people. I think if Dylan Brooks can turn himself into a formidable, not to say he had a bad year, but for him to take that next jump in his development, I think if that happens, super, super, super good for Auburn and good on him as well. Number two, my second most important player returning for Auburn this year has to be the Frenchman, Jeffrey Ember, 6'8", 300 pounds, huge, man of a man. When we saw him being aggressive last year towards the end of the season, it kind of gave you like that, hey, yeah, this guy's a player. If he can stay healthy and take that next step in his development, it gives you somebody. First of all, he's a first guy off the bus type of guy. Super big stature. Really, really cool guy to be around. Affable personality, but on that field, he's a totally different person. If he can take that next step in his development, provide a piece to help you more in the mold of a Kobe Wooden, except for he's just bigger. Kobe Wooden was a dog. You can play him you can play him all up and down the defensive line. Jeffrey Ember has some of that in him. You can play him at multiple positions. Having that Swiss Army knife along the defensive line is going to be so important. You can put him at the 0. You can put him at the 3, the 4, wherever you want to put him at. Jeffrey Ember can play. If you can get that development out of Jeffrey Ember, I think that's one of those things that actually allows Auburn to compete with the Georgias and the Bamas of the world, is having those 6'8", 300-pounders that are making an impact. So Jeffrey Ember is number 2 on my top 5 list of top returning, most important returning players for Auburn going into 2023. Number 3, none other than probably the most popular player on Auburn's team, Jarquez Hunter, running back out of Mississippi. Played second fiddle, but not even second fiddle. Played 1B to Tank Bigsby's 1A the last 2 years. Seems like every time he touched the ball, something great happened. But my biggest question for Hunter is, how does he set the tone when he's the guy? See, when Tank Bigsby was able to come out and set the tone, he was the left hook. Let's say the left hook is your best punch. Tank Bigsby was the left hook. He's what everybody was waiting on. You waited on the left hook. What you don't want is Tank Bigsby to bounce it. So you got the defense waiting on the hook, waiting on the hook, waiting on the hook. And then you see Hunter. And Hunter is hitting it right up the gut. So you're looking for somebody to bounce it? Here comes Hunter. And he's hitting the hole full speed. There isn't any hesitation. The patience, and he has patience, but Tank Bigsby kind of is one of those like a push running back where likes to push the pocket, like to push the line a little bit, then take off. Hunter is just full speed ahead. Bow, gotta hit it. Did show patience with hitting the perimeter, but still two different types of running backs. So having that right cross when you're looking for the hook, it allowed Hunter to come in and do some things that we saw that were amazing. But I never ever discounted the role that Tank Bigsby played in opening lanes for Hunter by allowing Hunter to be a change of pace back. Whether he was faster or stronger or whatever, it was still a change. And having guys that can have that type of change, and even though they may not have been too different as far as stature wise, weight and height, maybe Hunter's more condensely built. Both guys are super strong, but Hunter being a lead guy, Hunter being a left hook. When people are waiting and game planning for Hunter, how does he respond? I think that Hunter's ability to catch the football is going to be super big for Hugh Freeze in his offense. Phillip Montgomery or whoever. Freeze, Munt Freeze, however you want to call it. Hugh Pock and Philly Phil. Hugh Pock and Uncle Phil. That's what I call him. But for those two guys to be able to have a guy in the backfield, it's like a dream come true when you're picking up a new offense to have taking on a new job and having a guy like that as an incumbent. He's one of those guys you circle like, yeah, I like that. So I think Hunter being 1A for the first time in his career, how he responds to that is going to have a lot to do with how far Auburn goes in 2023. Number 4, Cam Riley. Cam Riley is probably the most physically gifted linebacker that Auburn has, and he probably was the same last year. And when I say physically gifted, he has the ability to play so much. He reminded me so much of my buddy Carlos Dansby in the fact that he's that long, leaner linebacker. He has enough in the hips to lay a hit. He runs really well, 6'4", 6'5". You can put him at a multitude of positions based on his ability to run. And we just didn't see him put it all the way together. Where was his head? Was the defense putting him in the position for him to win? Now we'll see this year. Can Riley put on a little weight? Can he get to the 230, 235 range where he can be an effective pass rusher and also still keep his speed where he can run around? I mean, when you look at Cam Riley, can he put on enough weight? And when I see him sometimes, I see a little bit of Quay Walker, the linebacker for the Green Bay Packers, where you got that long frame, but he was able to bulk up, put on great weight, muscular weight, and he was able to still keep his speed. If Cam Riley can do those type deals, do that type of thing as far as putting on that kind of weight, and also be successful as far as keeping his speed together, I think you got a really, really nasty linebacker. And at linebackers is position for need for Auburn right now. You lose Owen Pappo, who was the senior member of the linebacker corps. You got Wesley Steiner, who played well in spaces. You've got you got Robert Woodyard, really not battle tested at all. So Cam Riley has been out there when the bullets were flying. He knows how to play, came out early, 13 tackles, one game, So if he can take that next step, and and everybody I'm naming are guys that have to step up in order for Auburn to get back to where Auburn has been previously. Like not even for a 10-win season, but for an 8-9 win season. These are guys that have to play for Auburn. You cannot get a whole team out of the portal. You can get pieces, you can get guys, you can get players, but you cannot get a whole team out of the portal. So Cam Riley developing in a manner where he could become at least one of your top 3 linebackers, really preferably top 2. But even having that third, and it reminds me of when Chandler Wooten was the third linebacker behind Papo and McClain. And more so even when it was KJ Britt playing a lot with Zacoby McClain when Papo was hurt. Oh, excuse me, Papo, however it went. You had 3 guys who could play, and it really, really helped Auburn out based on situations, also being able to give each other a breather. So Cam Riley taking that next step, I would love for him to be the number 1 linebacker because how physically imposing he is, the type of things that he can do. If he can rush the passer, he would never have to leave the field unless you wanted him to. And him being on the field would not tip you off to what was coming for the defense. A lot of times you see situational pass rushers come in and you know that, you know what, this guy is 9 times out of 10. I know he doesn't cover well, so he's going to rush the passer. And if they do drop him in the coverage, they're going to be at disadvantage. I'm going to hit that back. By being able to have a guy like Cam Riley who can rush the passer or he can drop back in the coverage, you can put him up, you can put him at the edge, you can put him at outside linebacker, you can put him at the mic. There are a lot of places that you can put him in that defense, and Ron Roberts loves, from what I've seen, he loves to put guys or his more multiple players in different positions to be successful. So by having a guy like Cam Riley take that next step, I think it'll mean a lot for Auburn. And my 5th and final most important returning player for Auburn in 2023, none other than Robby Ashford. What does Auburn do with Ashford? Who knows? But if Ashford comes out and wins this job after he held it down last year in probably one of the craziest seasons in Auburn history, if he wins this job or at least stays and makes himself maybe the backup, he's a guy that you got to have packages for because he can do so much. If Robby Ashford could take the next step with his passing, I really, really think that Auburn can get into that 8-9 win conversation, maybe even 10, but definitely if those 5 things happen, you've got an 8 or 9 win Auburn team, hands down. I absolutely know it. So, so shout out to Hugh Freeze for what he's been doing already. You've seen the swagger out. You've seen the coaching hires, the way he handled it. He's doing things his way. People are excited. The coaches are excited. The fan base is excited. And I just think that right now, brother Hugh, a.k.a. Hugh Pock, is doing this thing, and we'll see how it goes. If he can be successful in this portal and the second signing day, if you can land – Auburn didn't land a single guy last year on signing day in February. February signing day, 2022, Auburn did not land a single guy. Auburn was in it with a lot of guys in the transfer portal and didn't land a lot of guys, impact guys last year. I mean, you get a DJ James, and that's probably about the long and the short of it that I can think of that really came in and made an immediate impact. So Auburn, by being able to kind of attack that portal and getting some immediate impact guys, I think if Hugh Freeze can pull that off along with the coaching staff, kudos.